the injury, and he's done that now. He's ready. He's ready to start going back into camp. And now I will probably have a trip in the next couple of weeks to see him, and we'll look to lock in that date of January, February, and who it will be. So hopefully soon I'll be able to give you guys some actual news rather than saying update soon. And he's pumped to return. And like I said, I like to see that from him. I would love to see AJ fight in Africa next. I think it would be epic, don't you? I mean, imagine what a thing to do. No, we talk about ticking boxes. I mean, AJ's done everything, but we need a good competitive fight before we roll the dice. And the rolling of the dice will come next, probably late summer, and we hope it will be against the man. I would make a fortune out of AJ Fury. Of course we want the fight. I mean, but sometimes he wants this, he wants that, he wants 55%, he wants 45%.
Who's next for Anthony Joshua then?
The plan is to return in January or February. We want a guy from the top 15, and then the big fight. Everybody's talking about it, and that's what we're going to try and do. I would be really disappointed if we didn't get that fight, mate. And both guys are still relatively in their prime. It's not like either guy's finished. It's a great fight, and it's by far the biggest fight in the sport.
Just now, Eddie Hearn confirms Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury fight. But make no mistake, this is Fury's world. AJ can look ready all he wants, yet we've seen him crumble before. Against the Gypsy King, that same pressure will only break him again.
That wasn't AJ going, all right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start calling him names so he'll fight me. I think the great news for fight fans, and the great news for AJ and for us, is that he's back, right? He's gone through that period of the injury and probably a little bit of sort of post-fight depression, which is something that a lot of people don't know about fighters when they get beat, particularly, right? And just took a bit of time to kind of find himself, finish some business projects so he could just focus on one last big run in the sport. And he's done that, and he's hungry, and he's ready. And that was like, but I knew that the last week or so, but when I saw that post, I was like, yeah, fucking let's go. And that just tells me he's ready to fight. So
now the real question is, will AJ even have the courage to call out Fury when it matters most? Let's hear what the insiders think next. Here's the truth, AJ has never been the man to step forward and take risks. While Eddie talks about timing, the reality is that Fury is free, available, and waiting. If Joshua was serious, he'd call Fury out now. Instead, he hides behind...
Do you expect Anthony to call out Tyson Fury if he does get a demolition job?
No, I don't think that's really his style. I mean, I just feel like big fights are about timing. And you look at it now, Fury doesn't have a fight. If AJ wins, he doesn't have a fight. There's no mandatories for Fury. Like, there is actually a clear path to make that fight, but let's not get our hopes up, eh? We know we've been there before, but just the only thing that matters right now is taking care of business on Saturday.
And that leads perfectly into Eddie's latest words on AJ finally calling Fury out, something fans have waited far too long to hear. Finally, AJ opens his mouth, but only because he's forced to. Fans have criticized him for being silent for years, and now when he speaks, it sounds desperate, saying he wants to punch.
Because you can't win. People say, oh, AJ he's not outspoken enough, he doesn't call people out, and then when he does call people out, it's like, well, what's AJ doing? Why is he being like that? So I think he's just reached the stage of his career where he's like, look, I'm going to tell you how it is. I want to punch Tyson Fury's head in. Let's make the fight. And and that's the fight to make. Turk El Sheikh's made it clear that he wants to make that fight as well. I always say to people, it's the biggest fight in boxing. And you get some haters or naysayers that go, no, it's not. And I say, okay, tell me a bigger fight in boxing than AJ against Fury, and no one could ever do it. You guys know your boxing. Tell me a bigger fight than that. It just doesn't get any bigger.
We agree.
And
we agree.
When that fight is made, it will be, the whole country will stop. And it's just going to be sad if we don't get that fight done. Both guys are going to have a warm-up fight. AJ is going to fight January or February, and Tyson Fury wants to fight before he goes back into the ring in a major fight, apparently.
And as the negotiations unfold, the real discussion becomes where this fight will land and what stage AJ is truly prepared for. Let's cut through the PR fluff. Talk of Ghana and iconic moments is classic promotion speak to repackage AJ. Dates and venue.
And I would think so as well. They've both been out of the ring for what will be over a year. Let's get this fight made back end of the summer 2026. And we can settle it once and for all.
Just quickly, Eddie, you said that AJ's going to have a fight in January. Is that carved in stone?
January or February.
That's happening, is it?
Yeah, that's the plan. He's back in training now. I'm going to go and see him in about a week's time. We're going to try and lock in the date. We've had approaches from a number of venues, but one particularly in Ghana. And I think it would be iconic to see AJ fight in Africa. I really do. I mean, I would love to be a part of that. I think it would be an amazing experience for him. I think it would be an iconic moment for the sport.
Don't be fooled by the sidestep. Saying let's move on is the exact dodge of a team who know how fragile AJ's momentum is. Hearn's trying to thread the needle, keep AJ active, keep Fury looming. All smoke and mirrors until the date is locked and the Gypsy King actually signs on.
Is that an exclusive? Have you mentioned before that AJ will be fighting again in January?
Nah, I mean, I'm sure you'll call it an exclusive, but, you know...
I will.
Yeah, I'll tell you what you can say. I can write it for you now.
Okay.
Exclusive. Hearn said AJ could return in Africa in January or February. There you go.
Straight to the point. Promoters smell risk, and Frank's voice is the reality check. Fighters need clarity. AJ's camp seems willing to gamble. That uncertainty is exactly what Fury will relish. A man who destabilizes opponents mentally before the first bell.
I need my fighters to be settled, knowing what's going on and working together. But, you know, I'm not taking the punches. At the end of the day, that's got to be a choice that he makes. Don's a very good trainer, and it's unfortunate.
Speaking of Fury, here's the man himself stating exactly what's at stake. Listen to the bravado. Fury doesn't just sell fights, he frames history. This is textbook Tyson, big picture, ego-driven, psychological warfare. Calling it destiny and the ring.
He's a champion, I'm a champion, and it's going to be one of the fights for the ages. You know, someone told me the other day, it's been 24 years since we had a last undisputed world heavyweight champion. Now, we know that the both Klitschko's was champions for around about 10 years, so there's been another 14 years where all the heavyweights couldn't do it. So we've been chosen, and I believe we're both destined to be here, to be in this big fight in Saudi Arabia, the Ring of Fire. And there's only one winner, and I'm destined to become.
AJ's diplomacy shines. Supportive, measured, almost rehearsed. That's a double-edged sword. Respect-worthy, but not the venomous edge you need to unsettle Fury. Joshua talks about how tough it is, which is true, but words about rooting for others don't translate into the ruthless hunger required to topple Fury's throne. The Gypsy King will smell the hesitation.
He needs a world title shot. He was supposed to get it tonight, and he will get it, 100%. And I'm rooting for him to become two-time champion of the world. It's not an easy feat. It's one thing, like he was there. He was on the door of it today, in terms of with the Dubois fight. But it shows you how tough it is. It ain't just like how good are you. It's the stars have got to align. Just to get that champion in the ring takes a bit of like luck as well. So I'm sure he's.
And then there's AJ's bravado, the landlord line, which tries to reclaim dominance. Let's hear that. Nice soundbite. AJ wants swagger and ownership, calling himself landlord to command respect. Problem is, swagger doesn't win wars, adaptability does. Fury has outfoxed bigger punchers and neutralized bravado before. If Joshua truly believes rhetoric is a substitute for ring IQ and heart under fire, he'll hand Fury the psychological keys to the fight long before the first bell rings.
It's no different for me than it is for any champion. He's a challenger, huh? Yeah, but he can't sell out. This is the first time he's headlining a show. I'm here, I'm the champion. I told you, I'm the landlord. I'm collecting rent.
This analysis tells you everything. Yes, AJ still has power, but his chin is shattered. Every big loss has exposed the same weakness. Once he gets clipped, the fight changes instantly. Fury, even if not perfect, fights smart, adapts and survives. That's the key difference. Resilience. AJ might land first, but history shows Fury always rises, always adjusts, and always finds a way. Joshua doesn't have that same mental fortitude. When a fight becomes a chess match, Fury's intelligence outshines Joshua's brute strength. That's why in a who blinks first scenario, Fury still edges it comfortably.
Because AJ, if nothing else, AJ's got a lot of power still. His punch resistance may be shot to pieces, but you know, Fury's not too far behind him, I don't think. They're both ready to go. So it's a question of who lands first. And Fury's always been quite smart, quite clever in terms of his boxing sort of prowess and ability. So you would expect Fury to maybe nick it.
Calling AJ technically better than Fury is laughable. Fury has proven against Wladimir Klitschko, Wilder, and countless others that he controls range, tempo, and timing like no heavyweight alive. Joshua's mechanics might look textbook on the pads, but in real fights he stiffens up, becomes robotic, and gets hit too easily. Fury, with his unorthodox rhythm and adaptability, dismantles technical boxers because he makes them uncomfortable. Joshua looks neat until pressure mounts, then it all falls apart. You can't call that superior technique, you call that fragility.
To me, it's so close. and it's so subjective. And that's what I said. I think in regards to saying, I'm technically better, I don't think Spencer meant that Anthony Joshua is technically a better boxer than Tyson Fury, because Ian.
Frosh is right. AJ versus Fury is interesting, but let's not pretend Joshua is the one carrying intrigue. Fans want to see this fight because Fury remains the man to beat, the lineal king. Joshua's retire or not drama only underlines his inconsistency. Stepping away, coming back, never fully convincing. That hesitation is everything Fury exploits. The Gypsy King has stayed active, relevant, and undefeated at the top. AJ's storyline feels like catch-up, not destiny. That's why when Frosh says why retire, it exposes the truth. Joshua's not here because of greatness, he's here because Fury's presence makes him relevant.
Simon, I know the fight with Anthony Joshua is an interesting one we want to see, one that I certainly want to see. First of all, I'd just like to say, why retire, why come out? I've touched on it.
And that set up Frosh's harsher verdict on whether the fight even matters if it never happens. Carl Frosh hits the nail on the head. AJ versus Fury will always fill stadiums because of the spectacle. But from a purist point of view, Joshua has already been exposed too many times. He's been dropped, folded, and ironed out. Once you've been dismantled on the big stage multiple times, the aura disappears. What fans cling to is the name Anthony Joshua, not the fighter he once promised to be. In contrast, Fury hasn't just remained undefeated, he's defined an era. Whether or not this fight happens, Fury's legacy is secure. Joshua needs Fury to stay relevant, but the reverse isn't true. That's the bitter truth Frosh points out. Boxing won't collapse if Fury never shares a ring with AJ, but Joshua's entire reputation hinges on finally facing and inevitably falling to the Gypsy King.
If he fights Anthony Joshua, that will be the one that people want to see. That will probably still fill Wembley, but as a boxing purist, as a lover of the sport, am I that bothered if Tyson Fury never steps in the ring with Anthony Joshua? I'll be honest, no. AJ's been flattened.
Tony Bellew captures the dilemma perfectly. AJ is stuck. He doesn't want the fight on Fury's terms, but he can't afford to reject it either. That's the curse of Joshua's career. He's always been reactive, never dictating the big moments. Fury, on the other hand, calls the shots. If Tyson says it's time, the boxing world listens. Bellew's skepticism is justified. AJ's track record proves he hesitates, stalls, and too often leaves fans disappointed. Crying wolf is the right phrase. How many times have we heard Joshua is ready, only for delays, excuses, or lackluster performances to follow? Meanwhile, Fury has danced with Wilder 3 times, toppled Klitschko, and carried the division on his back. Bellew knows the truth. If this fight collapses, it's because Joshua couldn't meet the moment, not Fury. That's why doubt lingers, because deep down, AJ still doesn't convince even his own.
Right now, I mean, he's just coming off a hard camp, a hard fight, and does he need it right now, immediately, when Tyson Fury says so? Probably not, but can he afford to knock back the opportunity? Probably not as well, so it's tough, really. I'm not so sure it actually does happen, and I'm not so sure it's someone, once again, boy who cried wolf.
And now we arrive at the heart of it. Legacy, pride, and the battle for an era. Tyson Fury doesn't just want Anthony Joshua, he wants to cement himself as the undisputed king of heavyweight boxing. If Fury wins, he becomes immortal, the man who conquered every narrative and erased every doubt. But if Joshua somehow pulls the upset, it changes everything. Suddenly, the man written off as fragile becomes the hero of British boxing once again. Yet history tells us who holds the mental edge. Fury thrives under pressure, manipulates the build-up, and breaks opponents mentally before fists even fly. Joshua has cracked when the spotlight blazed brightest. That's why this fight isn't just physical, it's psychological warfare. So the question remains, are you backing the Gypsy King to solidify his throne, or do you believe Joshua can shock the world one last time? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.